All right, everyone. This is the a live recorded training for DeskFlex hoteling software. I was just talking to someone from DC office, and they were asking, "Hey, when are we going to learn how to use the hoteling software?" So we have the representative um, from the company who's from DeskFlex, Steve Rode. We have a user. In this case, we have Shantae, who will be our user, and we're just going to try to move in and out of this in 15 minutes. So, what I want to make clear is that this is the desktop version, the web version, and that is different than the phone version. So, we're going to set up a live Zoom conference probably on Thursday, where Shante will be able to show her phone and Steve will walk her through that series. So I am going here. So I'm going to a tab and I'm typing in chipagodeskflex.com. And so what happens is you will get the login with Active Directory screen. Now, if it's your first attempt, um, what's going to happen is Microsoft is going to try to call you and make sure it's you, and you'll just confirm that activity. So I'm doing login, I'm clicking the login, and I should get in. So this screen right now is the admin screen, and what I need to do in order to provide training for the rest of you is change over to my user account. So, Steve, this is pretty much the screen that everyone will get, except they won't see the admin panel at the top, correct?
That is correct. Everything they see on this screen should be what they're seeing on their screen, their user dashboard. The only exception is the top left where it has the little house with the admin panel. They won't see that particular icon on their screen.
All right. So, over the last 4 hours, I've been training myself with this program, but maybe you can lead me through a reservation, Steve, and the way that you think is the best way for people to log in to reserve a desk. And I'll just do the actions.
Okay. Well, I think the easiest way for most people to reserve a space is simply going to be right above the floor plan. There's a button there that says New Reservation. So go ahead and click on that, please. Right, once we've clicked on that, the screen changed a little bit because now it's giving us both a place for our building and floor and space types, as well as our start date and end date. So let's go ahead and make a reservation for tomorrow. So go ahead and go to start date and pick tomorrow.
And we'll do all day, 9 to 5.
Okay. I don't know if I have not seen, all right, it did sorry, on my screen, I did not see the calendar pop down. I don't know if that showed for you or not.
No,
Okay.
it did. Some things show and some things don't. Yes, it showed
Okay.
for me the whole calendar.
Gotcha. So just for users, in case you don't see that on the recorded version, when he clicked on that field, it dropped down to calendar view where he could select the date, and he did select the 24th. All right, so we're going to do a full day reservation. Now, once we've got the times which are pre-populated for the default time, we're just going to pick one of the spaces on the floor that you want to reserve for tomorrow. So the green dots represent the ones that are available. Once you get into the active system, you're going to see some other colors. Reserved for the day would be that light pink purple color, and then occupied, which would mean somebody's sitting in it, which for tomorrow you should not see that yet, um, unless you have a reservation that's spanning over the course of more than one day. But at any rate, go ahead and pick a specific space.
Okay, so what I want to point out is that we have triple rooms. We have 3 desks in a room. We have 2 desks in a room, and we have cubes, solitary cubes, and we have offices. Now, the offices you don't see a dot in because you don't have access to them. So I'm going to pick this dot right here to reserve. Okay, so if you could explain this screen to
All
people.
right. So this is just your reservation detail. You made a reservation for tomorrow, 8/24, from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. If for some reason you have a reason to want to notify a user on the user list, you actually can put notes in, and then you can pick a invitation, subject, and guest. I believe for the vast majority of you and the vast majority of times, you will not do those. You will just proceed down to where it says press to confirm and click on that. And that will create your reservation. So now you're showing a reservation for tomorrow from 9 till 5. And if you go back to your user dashboard, it will show that. You need to go to the top right there where it's got hide. It's hiding your upcoming reservations right now. Click on that, and that'll show your upcoming reservations. So now you're showing an upcoming reservation. And as you add more upcoming reservations, it will add more to that space. Now, there is going to be an administrator-defined limit to the number of reservations you can make. And I'm not sure what that variable is going to be for each user, but there you will run into a limit at some point if you keep adding reservations, and it will tell you you've exceeded your maximum number.
So let me see. I picked cubicle 304C. Um, was that, how come it didn't go red?
Well, you have not checked into that cubicle. You've only reserved it for tomorrow. Now,
Oh,
if we go
right.
back and make another reservation, so go back and click on that new reservation button again.
Okay.
And now let's pick tomorrow
Oh,
again.
there it is. Okay. That's mine right there.
Well, actually, you're still looking at today
Oh,
because we
right.
apparently
You're
checked
right.
for that earlier today. So go ahead and pick tomorrow's date.
Okay. No, you're right. I'm sorry about that.
Yep.
To confuse people.
So once you pick tomorrow's date, now you have a cubicle there that is showing as reserved
Oh, there we
for
go.
tomorrow.
Perfect. Perfect.
And as I say, when you get into using the system and you have lots of users making reservations, you're going to see a lot more of those pink dots showing that those spaces are reserved. And once those spaces are reserved for a given day by someone else, you can't reserve those. You have to pick from the available spaces, which will be the green dots on any given day.
Okay. So when someone comes to work tomorrow, then they would check the check-in?
Well, you have configured your system to automatically check users in and out based on their reservation time. So once a user has made their reservation, they do not have to manually check in or check out. I
Okay.
believe you in conversation, you had suggested that if your user is going to leave really early from a reservation, maybe half of the day, that they should manually click the check out button to check out from their reservation so that that space could be available for someone else. But I think that's going to be a less common occurrence.
Okay. Now, what about people who want to reserve a desk spot for 5 days?
Okay.
Let's go through that.
All right. Now, are you attempting to make a reservation for 5 days as a single reservation, or do you want to make 5 individual reservations for
No,
the whole
let's make a, can we make recurring? Is the statement recurring or next week? Next week, I want to reserve the desk for 5 days in a row.
I would simply make 5 reservations to do 5 days in a row, or you could make one reservation spanning all of 5 days by picking your start date as Monday and your end date as Friday. And then you could actually reserve one space for 5 days, assuming that you allow that in your system. Um, the recurring reservation is really designed more if you've got somebody that's going to come in, let's say, every Monday for 5 straight weeks. That would
Okay.
be going into a recurring reservation pattern where we're going to pick a specific day and time on consecutive weeks rather than multiple days consecutively.
Okay. And what I'd like to point out to people who are looking at this map, you'll see that these single offices do not have dots. These are only available for director and above. We also have the conference room, which you can check out, and everyone is able to check out a conference room. Um, Steve, are there other things that you think people should need to know?
The only other thing that I would, there's two things. One is you just mentioned the conference room. And if you want to check out a conference room for a portion of the day, we have a conference reservation built into the system. So if you go to the My Reservation button there on the left.
My reservation, sorry.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And actually, on your site, you currently have conference reservations turned off. We would have to go into the global settings and turn those on. We do have a conference reservation tool. You can always reserve a conference room using the regular reservation tool. It's just the conference reservation tool actually displays graphically the timelines so that you could see what times a conference room is available during the day. Where with the regular reservation tool, you don't necessarily have the visibility to see that someone has it from 10 to 11 and somebody else might have it from 1 to 3, and you can pick which spaces are still available for a given conference room. So I think we're going to have to go enable that on your system so that we can show that to the users.
All right, we'll take care of that. Is there, Shante, as a user, do you think this is fairly simple?
Yeah, I think it looks simple enough. I did have a few questions though.
All right, Steve's here. Go ahead.
One, I had a question is, do you always have, do you have to check in? So I've reserved it, but do I have to remember to check in tomorrow when I come to that desk?
No, you do not. As a matter of fact, you will not see the option to check in to your reservation. So if you go click on My Reservation, that button we just went to a moment ago, right? The way your site is configured, you have the site set up for automatic check-in. So the system is going to check users in or out based upon the reservation time. They do not, once they have made the reservations, they do not need to check in or out. If, however, you have a user that comes to the office, they do not have a prior reservation, and they just want to see if a space is available for them right now. We do have a check-in option available to check in without a prior reservation. So Glenn, if you would click on the user dashboard button. Yep, that one. All right, so you've got the button there just to the left of the new reservation button, a little further to your right, that says check-in. Right, you click that, your screen just updates once, and below you see some information that's similar to what you saw on new reservation, but it's no longer asking you about when you want to start because it's assuming you're starting right now. But it does need to know how late you're going to work. So there's an end time there. So let's say I just showed up at the office. It's 3:45. I want to take a space from now till 6. So I would go to the checkout date and time, leave the date today, pick 6 o'clock p.m. for my checkout time. And then I would pick one of the available spaces.
Okay.
Okay, and then just click on one of the available spaces, and you note the check-in detail says that we're checking in at the current time, 3:44 p.m., and we will be checking out at 6. So this looks very similar to the reservation, except it's happening right now without a prior reservation. So this is when a user would click on that check-in button in your system, because for their reservations, they'll automatically be checked in and out of the reservations. This is just for when they're coming to the office and they do not have a prior reservation. And I find most organizations will discourage users from doing this because they would prefer their users to make reservations in advance.
Yeah.
But this is a tool that is available if you happen to be at the office and you want to see if there's a spot available to sit down.
Okay.
But you notice now that you have checked in, the space that you checked into is a red dot. The little blue halo around it indicates that it is you. If you were looking at that dot from another user's perspective, it would just be a red dot.
Okay. Shante, what else?
Am I able to schedule a room for somebody else?
Not unless you are an administrator that has access to the override function. So most users will not be able to do that. Only make reservations for yourself.
Okay. And then you were talking about the conference room. Is that going to be the only way to reserve a conference room now in the DC office? I know we used to have a different a different scheduling system. So is this going to take that over?
I believe that this is going to take that function over.
Okay. And then how do we know what's available on the desks in the rooms that we're reserving?
There is a question for you, Steve. How do we list assets?
Well, the way you would typically list assets, and we've talked about this prior, is you would define the spaces based upon what is going to be at those spaces. So right now, I think we've only got a couple of workstations set up. This is really not a conversation for the training, but typically what we would do is we would list the types of space. So you have the drop-down box there for type of space. Right below the check-in button. If you click on that, that will show types of space. So I think right now, click space right below it.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Right. So if, for example, we wanted to distinguish that some spaces have docking stations, desk with docking station, desk with dual monitor, desk. So we can define all those out as types of space. That way users can quickly filter by what they want to reserve, see what's available in that type of space. If they can't find a space of that type, then they can look at the next most desirable type of space. So
Okay.
that's typically the way we would define that out, is we would define the different configurations in the type of space field. I don't think we've done that at this point, but that's easy to do.
No, I understand, and we'll be able to put in Mac desk. So we would say, Mac connection, Mac desk, something
Right.
like that.
So if you have desks that are special for Mac users, or if you have different types of hardware, like some Dell users, some Lenovo users, and you need a specific dock, if you've got handicap accessible workstations or sit-stand desks that you want to designate as different types of space, that is where we would designate that so that people can quickly find the type of space that they want to reserve.
Okay, so I think that's a quick run through. Shante, you feel good with that info?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So I am going to end the broadcast now. If you guys would just stay there, I'm going to end the broadcast to stop the recording.